Welcome back to Unsanctioned Opinion. I'd just like to talk about a debate that I did on Friday with Ralph from Right Reaction, who is a UK sort of head of the NRX, the Neo-Reactionaries. Now, the debate was on whether the people driving for the technological singularity are evil, and I took the affirmative. I believe that indeed they are evil. I think that the technology in of itself is not necessarily evil, but the people that are developing it are definitely using it for evil aims. They are not, for example, using AI and technological singularity to enable things like Bitcoin that would enhance individual freedom. They are instead using it to construct a centralized, globalized system that is increasingly tending towards a planned economy, and I think this is really, really bad. Now, Ralph, as per usual, got into an argument about freedom and liberalism, which seems to be a very, very sort of worn piece of ground for him. Indeed, when we debate, it always seems to come back to this. Possibly because I've, got long hair and I look like a bit of a degen. I think that he assumes that I'm much more sort of degenerate than I really am because I advocate for fundamental human rights. Now, I just want to make this clear, right? My belief in fundamental human rights is fundamentally functionally based. I believe that they make for a good society and they prevent widespread violence. There is a reason why natural laws are considered natural laws. Things like ownership of property, freedom of conscience, freedom of religion, all of these kinds of things, because they stop conflict. I think this is a thing that many people have missed about democracy. They think that democracy is purely just a machine to make people feel good, a reason to legitimize whoever is in power. But no. Democracy is fundamentally a process to prevent civil war. And if you look at the English Revolution and the English Civil War in the 1600s, you will see this very, very clearly. The idea is to rotate the interests in power so that no one interest reigns long enough that the people who are not served by that interest feel the need that they have to go to war in order to be part of the political system. The Catholics and the Protestants had exactly this problem. During the 100 Years' War, it resulted in the Treaty of Westphalia. The idea that because these two worldviews were mutually exclusive, the Protestants and the Catholics, as soon as one got in power, the other would be excluded. And this created just so many wars and coups and assassinations because as soon as a new king got into power, all of the people on the other side would immediately start plotting his overthrow. And because we were dealing with divine legitimacy in this case, there was no reason to obey a king, a Protestant king if you were Catholic, or a Catholic king if you were Protestant. Democracy was a way of solving this problem, right? By saying, effectively, you may have a Catholic prime minister for 4 or 8 years, but then you can vote him out. You can get a Protestant prime minister. I believe it was Mill who called this the balancing of pernicious interests, I believe was the way he put it. So given that every faction always has its interest and you cannot stop them from having their interest, the way around it is to rotate who gets to be in charge. Now, Ralph is fundamentally against liberalism and fundamentally against freedom. I believe that he thinks that freedom is essentially the enabler of all human degeneracy. Now, I do not agree. I think that human degeneracy predates modern forms of freedom, and if you just look at history with a critical eye, not in the critical theory sense, but you can see that humans have been fucked for ages. Now, Ralph's solution to this seems to be basically a theocracy, a fundamentalist theocracy. He will never come out and say as much, and indeed I have asked him many times to explain to me exactly what society it is that he wants to bring about. I have given him the leeway of talking about any period or time in history that he could use to recommend a system that he would like to see come about. And he always dodges the question. So much so, in fact, that I started having to use Dune, the sci-fi novel, as a proxy to talk to him about what the kind of society that he wants. Generally speaking, when it comes to politics, I'm very systems-oriented. and I'm good at picking apart flaws in political systems. I mean, I might not be great at like creating them, but I tend to think that the one that we have is actually pretty goddamn good, as long as it's run properly. I think the problem is that at the moment, it is not being run properly. Classic example of this for the moment is that at the moment, not everyone in society has the same rights. Some people, for example, have the right not to be spoken to harshly. They can pursue legal action. Other people, they do not have that right. So if you are a member of a protected class and someone disses you based on that class, you can take them to court. But if you are not of a protected class and someone slags you off, well, there's nothing you can do about that. And I think that is a serious mistake, and I think that it is this unequal treatment that is driving a lot of division. I would prefer to return to a society where nobody gets special treatment, or everyone gets special treatment. And of course, as soon as everyone gets special treatment, it is no longer special. So they both amount essentially to the same thing. Now, I do not want to live in a theocracy. I also do not want to live under communism. In fact, I don't want people telling me what to goddamn believe. I don't want people checking my thinking. I don't want people asking, and I don't want the police being like, oh, the priest coming on, we just got to check your religious views. Oh, what if you're a heretic? Because in truth, no one alters their beliefs, really, under these kind of circumstances. People just pretend. Now, for some people in government, for some people in religion, for some people who desire this kind of top-down absolutist control, the pretense is enough. They don't really care if you believe, as long as you pretend that you believe. As long as you make the right motions and you say the right words, they do not care what is in your heart. However, these kind of societies are very, very top-heavy and require an incredible amount of enforcement, because if you cannot tell what is in somebody's heart, you need to watch them 24/7 lest they betray what is really in their heart, and then you can see that they do not really agree with whatever diktat you are pushing. Now, this is one of the reasons why I believe that the technological singularity has the potential for great evil. If you get stuff like Neuralink, for example, right, or different devices that can measure your galvanic skin response, your heartbeat, your sweat, you will have a situation much like under communism, where you could not betray your facial emotions lest you give something away, that you do not believe what the dear leader is saying, that you are prone to some kind of wrong think, except it will be a million times worse. Everyone will be terrified of thinking the wrong thought, of saying the wrong thing, or even just dreaming the wrong dream. Much like in Orwell's 1984, where the guy, I forget his name, Symes, perhaps, he gets betrayed, he gets denounced by his child, who is in the Spies, the 1984's version of the Hitler Youth, essentially. His child is listening at the keyhole, and while he is sleeping, this guy, apparently, he says, "Down with Big Brother." And the child hears this, goes off and reports to his little superior, and gets him gulagged. And when he meets Winston, the main character, they are both in a cell, and this guy is saying, "Oh, I can't believe I was a thought criminal. I can't believe I was saying 'down with Big Brother' in my sleep. It's so good that I was caught, before it got any worse." This kind of servile groveling, this kind of like just complete subjugation and abnegation of humanity to a regime. I'm not going to have it. I'm not into that. I don't goddamn care, seriously, whether people think it would result in a better functioning society. I really don't believe that it will. I don't believe that history proves that it will. But more importantly, and this is my beef with a lot of people on the right, I think they are very much the same as the people on the left. They use exactly the same tactics. They use exactly the same language. The only difference is that they would grasp the machine and use it against the citizenry, not for the kind of communist equality that the left wants, but no, for purity and goodness and, religious, orthodoxy. Which religion? Ralph is like, "Oh, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. Which brand of Christianity? Are you going to start, socially excluding heretics who do not believe in your brand of Christianity? Once again, it always comes down to the question of who decides what is moral. And it is always with these people who seek control that they believe that they have the moral answer. It cannot be any other way. Every single person, when they imagine political systems, they imagine what it would be like if they were in charge. But the truth of the matter is that politics is extremely complicated. And what you imagine is going to happen is generally not what is going to happen. Thus, people with dreams of righteous tyranny always fall short. And indeed, as they say, save us from the righteous tyrant. At least a tyrant who merely wishes money will let you alone sometime, once they have slaked their fill and gotten enough money or enough goods or enough grain. The busybody tyrant, the tyrant who does it for your own good, they will never leave you alone until every soul is saved, until every person is vaccinated. Holy crap. They'll be in your homes, they'll be in your brain, they'll be measuring your goddamn shoe size to see if it fits the goddamn orthodoxy. Leave me out of such a world. Thank you very much.